This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check you have the tickets in your wallet first before you drive 2 hours to the big game. Seriously, you had one job. Now the closest you'll get to the 50-yard line is parking lot D. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the vehicle owner's manual for important feature limitations and information.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
And welcome back to a new episode of the Skating Penguin Network recap show, everyone. It is the evening of Friday, October 18th. The Penguins were just defeated moments ago by the Carolina Hurricanes by a score of 4-1. And I'll be honest with you guys, I was out with some friends tonight. Had to watch the game from kind of afar, so I didn't see everything up close and personal. I did see the early Drew O'Connor goal, but from what I could tell, they did not seem to play well tonight. Obviously, the scoreline reflects that, and Snell confirmed as well that it was not a good hockey game from the Penguins. And as I mentioned, joined again by Snell out on the West Coast. And Snell, I mean, I only saw bits and pieces, didn't get a super good look at the game, but just the stats on the surface and the scoreline obviously reflected, I think, kind of what we both said in pre-production. Just not a good game from the Penguins tonight.
No, it was I think that the details, it was kind of sloppy. Pucks kind of seemed to just be bouncing off guys' sticks. You wonder if maybe after that big celebratory night for Sid and Gino, they went out and maybe had themselves a few drinks or something. That's the way they looked tired. 38 shots given up, though. Blomqvist stayed in, obviously, the whole game. I thought Blomqvist looked good. Again, dude, I think this guy is like it's tough. I know this might sound tough. Maybe as a Penguins fan, we're just so used to subpar goaltending. But I just feel like this kid's the real deal. Like, this guy's going to be, I'm not saying a superstar. I'm not saying he's the second coming of Marty Brodeur or anything like that. But just his patience in net and his kind of demeanor back there and the saves he made that are above, like the saves that he can kind of pull out of his rear end and that are above average saves. 38 shots, he lets in 4. The team was just breaking down in front of him constantly. Like I was saying before we hopped on, if I think that, if this was Jari in net and he's been playing like he has, this would be like an 8-1 drumming, maybe, if they even get on the board.
Yeah, I have to say, again, Frederik Andersen, was pretty solid tonight as well. Credit to him. Stopped a good bit of solid chances from the Penguins. They could have made this a closer game. But Blomqvist, even though he gave up 4 goals, he still had just a hair under a .900 save percentage. He faced 39 shots, 4 went in. He still made 35 saves. So really hard to put too much blame on him. And again, the kid's this is only his, 4th all-time game? Like, he's still only 22 years old.
First home start.
Yeah, first home start. He's only 22 years old. There's going to be growing pains, but I do feel like when he's in goal, and even though this wasn't a favorable matchup for the Penguins, when I saw the news that he was going to be the starter, I just felt better. Now, my feelings on Jari are well known. I'm not going to beat that dead horse tonight.
Right.
But
he wasn't even in net.
No, yeah, you can't. I mean, he wasn't getting the start. You just feel better. And that's saying something that, I mean, as a 22, that I feel that a 22-year-old playing his second professional season in North America, that I feel more confident in him than the veteran that's been playing in the NHL former All-Star that's been playing in the NHL for 4 or 5 years now, maybe even longer than that. So I just think looking at this game, and I think right now it's just like, okay, we need some good takeaways. There wasn't a lot of great to take away from this game. Two things I think. Blomqvist obviously is a good takeaway, even though he gave up 4 goals. He just looks confident. He just exudes kind of a confidence. And even a game like this doesn't feel like it's going to wreck that confidence. It just kind of feels like he's going to build off of it, learn from it, and get better. And the second positive for me, you got to get Drew O'Connor more ice time.
Drew Ovechkin.
That shot was, I mean, that is a goal scorer shot. That is a Raquel Kessel corner picking shot. That is the release. The release has always been there. It was just about like putting the rest of the game together. And I think it's safe to say now how he ended last season is not a fluke. This dude is a legit NHL player. You got to find a way to get him more ice time.
Well, they mixed up the lines. I don't know if you saw that. They bumped Bunting down and they put Drew back up on Gino's wing. So there is that. Obviously, the coaches and we are indeed watching the same player, the same game. But yeah, I'm advocating for getting the hashtag Drew Ovechkin started because, dude, he scored 3 goals this year, I think. 2 of them were absolute just darts, top cheddar, like just beautiful goals.
Yeah.
And to your point that you were kind of making, like, I mean, this guy kills penalties. He's got a good 200-foot game. He's got a big frame. He kind of has the makings of a power forward.
Yeah,
but he has a little bit of finesse to him. He was so great with Sid, just greasy along the boards, down low play, which I love to see. I mean, now that he's he's scoring on NHL goaltenders with these beautiful shots. Dude, remember last year he had like a shorthanded snipe that I don't know if you remember or not, but this was
shorthanded snipe this year.
He had a shorthanded snipe this year, but last year I remember there was one where I was like, "Whoa, boy, that was like it was one of those flashes where you're like, dude, get excited for Drew O'Connor." And yeah, like my whole point is just like, dude, this kid get him more ice time because I think that if you give him more ice time, give him an inch, this kid might take it and run with it. And could you see Drew does he look like a 20 goal scorer right now? I mean, it's only been a few games, but those glimpses we've been talking about, the complete game, like, dude, get him on the power play for Christ's sake.
I mean, he's absolutely on pace to score 20 goals. I think he has 3 goals now this season. So yeah, well over a 20 game pace or a 20 goal pace at this point. And I think that he absolutely has the ability to score 20, 25, and if things go right and he gets more ice time with the right players, maybe even 30 goals. I think that he absolutely – the shot can't really be taught. I mean, that is some guys just have that natural release. He seems to have it. And then you kind of throw it all together with, like you said, the size. He's 6'3", 200 pounds. You kind of just throw all that together, and he doesn't have a defined role because he can do so much different. He has some Patrick Hornquist, he has some Rickard Raquel, he has some just different types of players. And one thing that sometimes people overlook, I think, with O'Connor and why he works so well with Crosby, and I do believe I touched on this in the season preview episode, is you got to think like Sidney Crosby. And I'm not saying you have to be as smart as Sidney Crosby, but Drew O'Connor has hockey smarts, and that is something that another thing that cannot be taught. Jake Gensel had hockey smarts. Brian Rust, that is why he is so successful. He has those hockey smarts, just on a different tier. Again, everybody makes the NHL is a very smart hockey player, but there's definitely a different levels to it. And O'Connor has that, and maybe that took some time to develop just to get caught up with the speed coming from the college game. But everything I've seen this year just shows me that last year, how the season ended was not a fluke, and he is one of their top players. And I think through 6 games, he's absolutely delivered on that. And actually, he's on a pace, 3 goals through 6 games on a 40-goal pace. So, yeah, I'm not saying he's going to score 40, but I could definitely see 20, 25, 30 if things go right, which would be absolutely massive for this team.
Oh, dude, if he scores 20 goals this season and, kills penalties, maybe gets a sniff on the power play, if he drops the gloves 2 or 3 times, I'm getting an O'Connor jersey.
Yeah, I think O'Connor's a guy that's going to be in Pittsburgh a while.
I was just going to, you must have read my mind. I was just going to go there with you. Hypothetical, if the Penguins are at a point where they're sellers at the trade deadline, and the trade deadline talk has come up already a couple times in this early season, but is Drew O'Connor a piece for this team going forward? Is he a part of the next, do you see him as a part of that next chapter of Penguins hockey, or is he someone that you think that they would use to fetch a draft pick, because he's still pretty young?
Yeah, he's 26. I think that, you think Crosby's playing 3 more seasons at least. That takes you into 29. I think O'Connor might be the kind of player that needs that, as good as he is, needs that guy to feed him. He's not going to make the plays all on his own like a Gensel did. He might not quite that level. So if he a trade piece this season, I don't see it at all. Is he a trade piece at the end of the Crosby-Malkin era? Depending on how he continues to play, I think that if they don't have that next center, I think he could be. But if they get that next piece that can play on that top line and dish him, I think he would be a guy that's here for 6-7 years down the line until age kind of takes its toll. But again, this is all future forecasting. But I really think it depends on how this rebuild progresses, in my opinion. Not a trade piece this year, but how we look at it in 3 or 4 years could be a different story depending on where the rebuild is.
True. Yeah, guess we don't need to get too ahead of ourselves, but I was just curious because I was wondering tonight, I'm like, God, is this guy going to be, if he just continues at the pace he's going, he's obviously he's getting better and better every year. Yeah. And we have more great things to say about him, more reasons to be optimistic about the kid. It's like, man, with where the Penguins are at, I want to see this kid stick around in Pittsburgh. I love his game.
Yeah, there's nothing about his game that I do not like right now. I had some qualms about 2 years ago whether or not it was going to ever fully come together for him. Maybe as a bottom 6 guy, I think he had a place, but now I think he's fully made the case that he should be a top 6 guy. More and more. Penalty kill, obviously keep him there. He's been fantastic on the penalty kill. Can dish in a couple shorties for you from time to time. And you got to find a way, even if it's rotating him and, let's say, Raquel. Again, the way they set up their top power play unit can be tough for another lefty to break through on that. But find a way to get him some power play time, even on a second unit. But just give him in positions to show that offensive game, and he's going to be perfectly fine, I think.
Agreed. Yeah. So, yeah, Drew O'Connor, definitely one of the bright spots that we can take away from this game. That was a sick goal. Blomqvist, just look, the team overall just kind of looked sloppy. And I'm going to be honest with you. I despise the Carolina Hurricanes.
They're very annoying.
I think Rod Brindamore has to be one of the most annoying coaches' voices in hocky. A lot of people love him
as a player too. So,
if you're in Carolina, you probably love what Rod has done. He's all-time great coach. But as an opponent, they're just a bunch of tryhards. But I hate the man-on-man coverage shit. It throws off the Penguins so much. They've had such a hard time containing them the last few years. I don't know. I'm just annoyed of them. This is honestly one that I can take. This loss, I'll take it and just be like, yeah, it's the Carolina Hurricanes. Congratulations, you're gonna flame out in the second round of the playoffs again.
Yeah. Still not sold. They're built to win a cup. I think they are built to win in the regular season and probably win a round, maybe threaten in a second round, depending on who the matchup is. I still don't. That's why I think they needed to pursue Gensel harder than what it seems they did. But again, if Gensel didn't want to sign there at all, then that's nothing. They just have to make an offer and deal with it that way. Obviously, they have a new general manager with Don Waddell leaving this offseason. But I do wonder, you talk about Rob Brendamore. I mean, what is the ceiling? We've kind of seen the ceiling with Rob Brendamore. What happens if they have another good season? Even let's say they get New York stumbles along the way. Again, I think the Metro is pretty wide open, and Carolina comes out on top of that division. What if they go into a second-round series with a New York or something like that, and they can't win again? They fall short in the second round again. It kind of becomes – at one point you just say, okay, Rod, you've been fantastic for us, but we just need somebody to get us over that hump. Because that was kind of the thing with Bruce Boudreau all those years in Washington. A great regular seasons, President's Trophies, first home ice, but could never get past that second round. And it finally took them moving on from him to get to the promised land. So at some point, it's got to be do or die for Carolina in this generation of making a serious run in the Stanley Cup.
Well, I think their window's starting to close more than open, just to be totally honest. I mean, they're going to be a good team, a pesky team. They have a good lineup. They're one of those teams that they don't have a superstar. They just have a bunch of good players. Like, I don't think Sebastian Aho is a superstar. I think he's a phenomenal player, but
Do you think they have a superstar on their team?
No, I don't think so. I also don't like, this is a Penguins podcast and I'm not trying to sound like the biggest Debbie Downer, but like, dude, I just don't think you can win a Stanley Cup with Freddie Anderson as your number one goaltender either. I think
Svechnikov is a bigger superstar than Aho is.
I think so too in some ways. I think that he's got that flash and dash and he's a power forward. I love Svechnikov's game. Like he's a guy that if they were ever selling on that guy, I would beg that the Penguins sniff around on it, but it would never happen. I love think that like guy's
their
game.
biggest. I'd say their biggest. If you're asking like an average fan, their biggest in-house name, I think, is Brent Burns.
And that's like, for our generation for sure.
Yeah, he's 39. He'll be 40 in March. Svechnikov, I mean, enough people have seen the fancy stick work, the lacrosse stuff that you could probably get by on Svechnikov. Aho, maybe just because he has such a unique name, is there.
Jarvis is making a name.
I love Seth Jarvis. I love Seth Jarvis in Pittsburgh. And I love Jacob Slavin in Pittsburgh. There's a bunch of guys on this team that I love in Pittsburgh. I just don't know if they'd ever be the guy in my team.
I don't think there's a lot of guys. I think that Jacob Slavin is a great number one defenseman. He's like a great penalty killer, great defense. He's a great defensive defenseman that can chip in a little bit offensively. They've got that Shane Gostisbehere who's bounced around quite a bit, who's an offensive guy. It's just a team of a bunch of good players, and they've got a coach that, Rod brings what he brings, and they're a good team. But I think that their window is behind. I think that their chances to strike were, a couple years ago. They made a couple back-to-back Eastern Conference final appearances.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. You might say all kinds of stuff when things go wrong, but these are the words you really need to remember. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. They've got options to fit your unique insurance needs, meaning you can talk to your agent to choose the coverage you need, have coverage options to protect the things you value most, file a claim right on the State Farm mobile app, and even reach a real person when you need to talk to someone. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Meaningless stuff. Why do we gift so much meaningless stuff? Tired of generic gifts and hollow trends? Shutterfly allows you to create meaningful photo gifts for your family and friends. Whether it's a cozy fleece blanket for grandma, a stunning canvas print for mom, or a mug to make dad smile. Enjoy 40% off with code MAKE40 at Shutterfly.com and make something meaningful this year. See site for more details.
Feel your max with Brooks Running and the all-new Ghost Max 2. They're the shoes you deserve, designed to streamline your stride and help protect your body. Treat yourself to feel-good landings on an ultra-high stack of super comfy nitrogen-infused cushion that takes the edge off every step, every day. The Brooks Ghost Max 2. You know, technically, they're a form of self-care. Brooks, let's run there. Head to brooksrunning.com to learn more.
I don't know if that's totally accurate. I feel like they made a couple Eastern Conference final appearances within the last few years.
Who's that?
Carolina.
Yeah, they've been there because they had a streak where they won the cup in 2006, and then they didn't go to the playoffs until 2009, where they made the Eastern Conference Finals against the Penguins, and then I think they went 10 years without making the playoffs, and their first trip back, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals and got swept by, I believe, Boston.
That would have been 2019.
Yeah,
they went to go play St. Louis.
St. Louis, yeah, they got swept by Boston. So they had like 3 straight playoff appearances over the course of. They had 3 playoff appearances in the course of like 14 seasons, and all 3 ended up in the. At least at the minimum, getting the Eastern Conference Final. But
Well,
I can't say they've been back since 2019 though.
I can't remember, but even if they were, they ran into that Tampa juggernaut a few years in a row because Tampa went to the Cup final.
Yeah,
well, they're
3 years in a row.
3 years in a row. So it's like, you know, that the East has been tough to get through when you've had the Tampas and the Floridas and whatever. And yeah, I don't think that Carolina is better than any of those teams or has been. You know, I just don't think they've had the goaltending. They didn't have they just didn't have the umph up front either. They have a great fourth line and they have a great first line, but the middle is just kind of a bunch of good players. But, you know, to win a Stanley Cup, as you know, you need that star power to kind of get you over. And
they're good players that will get you plenty of wins in the regular season.
Exactly, yeah. Kind of like a Toronto Maple Leafs type deal.
Yes, absolutely.
But they get the Penguins tonight, and it leaves it. You just kind of wish that
they made the Eastern Conference Finals in 2023 and got swept by the Florida Panthers.
There you go. Can't match it. I mean, Bob Rovsky or whoever was in net.
That was Matthew Tkachuk scoring with like 2 seconds left in game 4 to sweep them. So yeah, it has have been okay. They have been there in 2023, but just never seemed to be able to get over that hump. But the talent is there to be really good, and they're clearly more talented than the Penguins tonight. Freddie Anderson, he got to stay healthy. I think he is.
He can't though.
I understand that, and that's a huge key for them because it always feels like they do fine without him, but when he comes back, he's been out for 3 months and is rusty and just not as good.
Yeah, and like that's been Freddie's whole career. I mean, when he was in Anaheim, when he was in Toronto, he all of a sudden disappears. He's hurt. There was that bizarre incident where the medical people were like, "There's nothing wrong with him," and Freddie just simply said, "I'm hurt," and he didn't. Yeah. They're like, I think it was in like a Leafs, the Amazon series. Maybe it was in that where they're like, "What's wrong with Freddie?" And they're just like, "I don't know, nothing. There's nothing wrong." And he was just like, "I can't play," and he was hurt.
Yeah, it was very, very weird. Yeah,
odd stuff. So, and I think last year too, or within the last couple of years, same thing. Disappearing act for a few months. Maybe he was really injured. Who knows? But when you have that reputation, that's how important goaltending is, man. It's like you either have it or you don't. And you could kind of point that finger right back at the Penguins. Like, is there a world to shift back to the Penguins? Like, are you ready to give Blomqvist the net yet? Or do you have to keep throwing Jari out there every once in a while to see if you can get him his game back?
Well, my biggest issue with what the goaltending situation is, besides the Jari inconsistency, is Blomqvist. I mean, you have to manage his workload. I know it's early in the season. And again, this week, it's a tough travel week going out west of Canada. You have a back-to-back on Friday and Saturday next week. They're going to split those starts. That's the only right thing to do. But I'm okay with going Sunday, Tuesday, Blomqvist, personally. Unless he would get, like, absolutely nuked in one of those games. I'm completely fine with going Blomqvist in those right now.
Well, it looks like Alex Nedeljkovic has been activated from the injured reserve list as of this morning.
He's going down there.
The Penguins are going to travel with 3 goalies on this trip.
Are you sure? Because they sent him to Wilkes-Barre for a rehab assignment.
Did they? I thought
like 99% sure they sent him to Wilkes-Barre.
So for this road trip, he'll be in Wilkes-Barre getting games in.
It sounds like it, yeah. To get him some.
I thought I heard someone talking about on the Penguins game today that they might be traveling with 3 goaltenders, but
no. So yeah, Penguins activate goalie Alex Nedeljkovic from IR.
14-day assignment.
Assign him to AHL for conditioning. So basically, what I think they're going to do is let him down there for 2 weeks and see what the heck
what happens with the Penguins
in the next 2 weeks, and go from there.
I see. That's why this article says that reactivating him buys them some time with this decision. So we got 2 weeks then. That clears everything up. So we got 2 weeks for the Penguins to figure out who's their guy.
So basically, by the time November comes, we should have a little more clarity on the situation in goal for the Penguins, for sure.
Do you think a decision like this, the 14-day stint down in Wilkes-Barre with a guy like Alex Nedeljkovic, and we all remember very clearly what happened at the end of last year, does a move like this, does Jari's seat get hot?
Oh, yeah, it's already hot.
I mean, it's already hot. It's lukewarm. It's hot at times. But when he hears what's going on with this, if he knows what's going on with this, does the temperature rise a bit for a guy like him?
Oh, yeah, there's massive pressure on him the next.
There's massive pressure on him. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if he goes,
there has to be.
If he goes up, let's say he plays twice in the next 2 weeks. He goes out and completely gets lit up. The seat is basically melting at that point.
I like that. I mean, I'd hope that there's some urgency with that. You just never. I guess you never know. Just for conversation's sake, because if I was Jari and I heard that, I would be quite concerned. I would have quite a bit of urgency that this road trip literally could be make or break for the guy. If he goes out and he's a complete gas can on the road, you come back home and you have a couple games to try to maybe salvage your job in Pittsburgh, or at least salvage your stint up with the big club.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk about reassignment. Ned's on a reassignment, or because he's barely practiced. He's been injured. Is there a world where Jari gets sent down to the AHL for conditioning to get his head right? Would he have to go through
I don't
waivers?
I don't know how that works. I think conditioning, you have to be coming off IR.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly what all the stipulations are with the CBA on how guys can be moved up and down, but I definitely think, he could, in 2 weeks, he could pull up with a mystery injury. His groin could suddenly be a little tight, and he could miss some time. I did see someone mention calling up Marc-Andre Fleury's sports psychologist that he went to back when he was struggling with the Penguins years ago.
Interesting move, yeah.
Yeah, but clearly something mentally is broken right now. But no, interested to see how Nedeljkovic looks against some real game action. But yeah, in 2 weeks from now, we should have a little more clarity on where we stand with what the Penguins plan to do in goal.
It says here that I think that they can either put him on waivers or send him to the AHL. He must have some sort of no move clause that protects him from waiver exempt.
Yeah,
or something.
I don't have contract pulled up right now, so maybe we'll
they
see.
put him on. Maybe in 2 weeks, the Avalanche continue to struggle. That Georgiev continues to be a gas can. The Penguins call up Nedeljkovic, and the Avalanche pick up Jari's contract.
Fantastic, do it.
Would you sign off? Would you sign off on that right now?
Yeah, send McKinnon back.
Send McKinnon back. Hell, I'd take Landeskog on one leg.
At this point, yeah, just let him. Just put him like, Gabe, you can't move outside of this 10-foot radius in front of the net. That's all
You're
you have
just
to
going to do crossovers in this left dot right here.
Yeah, we'll attach a bungee cord to you to pull you back to the bench, and then you're good from there.
That's the equipment trainer's new job. Yeah. But anyways,
I got nothing really else. I don't know about you, Snail.
I don't really got much else. Has Rutger McGroarty played a game in the AHL yet?
Let's see. Do not know if they played. They probably played tonight. They usually play weekends. Let's see. Schedule. They play.
Looks like he hasn't played yet.
No, they played last Friday, and they play. Oh no, they played tonight.
Our game's not over yet, maybe.
I think it's in progress right now. Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I'll be kind of checking out. I'm curious to see how he's going to be doing. It's been a long time since the Penguins have had a high caliber prospect like him. So I think that's pretty much all I got, Robbie. I'm actually going to send you over this photo right now. As I was looking up Rutger McGroarty, I found a picture of Joel Blomqvist, and that dude's neck is massive.
Yeah, it's kind of comical, actually.
He looks kind of like a Finnish Bill Hader with a huge neck.
A Finnish Bill Hader. That is quite the...
That's a mental image for those listening.
Pull, yeah.
But anyways, Robbie, that's all I got.
I'm just looking. I looked at the box score for tonight's game in Wilkes-Barre, and McGroarty had 2 penalty minutes. That's about it. I don't know who he skated with. I was just looking at the box score real quick. They did win 4-3, but he did not.
Who got on the sheet for Wilkes-Barre?
Let's see. We have Boris Kachuk. Kachuk.
The Wilkes Penguins AHL team has Boris Kachuk.
Katchuk.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that guy was a God, I forget who drafted him, but I want to say he might have been a draft blunder, and he was maybe never going to make the NHL.
I will say, yeah. So
I kind of like the guy though. He's 26.
Yeah, he scored twice actually.
Really?
He has 3 goals through 3 games. As the Wilkes-Barre Penguins are off to a 2-1 start. Anyway, Ville Koivunen had an assist on that first goal. He has 4 assists this year. And then Tristan Brose scored his second of the year. And then, boy, this is going to be a wild name. Boko
Imama.
Yeah, Boko Imama scored his first of the year. He ended up being the game-winning goal.
Wow, Boko getting on the score sheet. He's kind of a career AHL guy, but he can chuck him. He's a heavyweight.
Oh, yeah. He looks like a heavyweight.
So Boris Kachuk, this is what I remember him from. He was drafted 44th overall in 2016 by Tampa Bay, and he was, I believe he was involved in the Brandon Hagel trade that sent Boris Kachuk, and I can't remember who he went over there with. But of course, he played for the Sioux Greyhounds and the Sioux Thunderbirds.
Shocking.
So
shocking that he has a tie to Kyle Dubas in some way.
Shocking. Whatever. Giving his Sioux boys a job down in the jungle. I wonder what kind of contracts he's on. If we could see him,
probably might have been a 2-way.
I wouldn't mind him getting a look. I kind of like the guy. I remember watching him in Tampa and in Chicago, and he's not. I don't know. This isn't a podcast about the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins or Boris Kachuk, but I kind of like the guy. So that guy got 2 goals. Boko Imama with the game winner, and
Tristan Brose. Yep.
So hopefully those guys keep chugging, and you might get to see them up in the NHL.
Yeah, absolutely. You never know.
Who gets a call up first from the AHL team? Do you think it's going to be Rutger or Bros?
Depends on the injury or the replacement. Like, is it a guy going on IR? Do they just need a body for a night? And obviously, if it's a defender going down, you'll see a defender called up first. I'm gonna say.
Wait, is Bros a defenseman? I thought he was a forward.
No,
he's a forward. Okay.
Yeah, those are all forwards. I'm just saying, if defenseman goes down, you're gonna see a defenseman called up first. But I'll say
let's say Anthony Beauvillier gets hurt.
Anthony Beauvillier gets hurt. Let's say Anthony Beauvillier gets hurt, and he is out
4 to 6.
4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Then I think you could see a Rutger McGroarty, depending on how he's playing, or a Tristan Bros. If it's a day-to-day, I would say it's probably going to be more like a John Gruden or a
I forget. Yeah, we still got that guy.
Emil Benstrom.
Emil Benstrom, that guy too. I forgot about that.
And Nedeljkovic did play tonight. He stopped 33 of 36.
Not bad. I mean, not fantastic considering it's AHL talent, but
hey, first game action first game action, too for a couple weeks too. So good to get him some live pucks. So yeah.
Well, right on. Good. Well,
right.
I'll be tracking that. And this weekend, no hockey, right? Sunday they play?
Sunday at noon your time, 3:00 my time. They're in Winnipeg to start this road trip.
Oh, they're already flying out there.
So we'll be around probably Sunday night at some point to record a recap of that.
Yep.
Another busy week coming up. The Penguins still go 2-1 this week. They're 3-3-0 heading into this what'll be the third week of the season. They lose 4-1 to the Canadians, or not the Canadians, the Hurricanes. And before we wrap this up, Snell, you have any last words or anything?
Penguins are third in the Metro right now, so stop the count.
Yeah, stop the count. Let's start the playoffs now. They don't have a solid number one goaltender.
But Gino is score. He would be the Hart winner, or not the Hart. He'd be the
not Hart. Art Ross.
He'd be the Art Ross winner. The Penguins.
He might be the Hart. He might be the MVP at this point.
Could be.
Yeah. So the Penguins back on Sunday in Winnipeg, 3:00 Eastern time, 12 noon Pacific time, and you guys can do the math on the two time zones in between.
Yep.
You guys are smart enough, I'm assuming, to do that. Might, depending on, since this is a late week, maybe throw a mailbag feeler out there, see if we can get some, maybe sit down and answer some questions at some point. Sure. So keep an eye out for that as well. We've kind of settled in now, 2 weeks into the season. Maybe get some mailbags back up and running a little bit. But Snail, if you got nothing else, I'm going to put a bow on this. He says no. So for Snail, I'm Robbie. Penguins lose 4-1. We will talk to you guys later this weekend when the Penguins take on the Winnipeg Jets. Have a good evening.